All right, so what's going on, guys? Today we're going to go once again through Wand Parrying. You guys really calling out Wand Parry being very wonky, which I won't argue with you, it is. It takes some getting used to. So what we wanted to do today was essentially go through in a step-by-step a sense of how you can think about Wand Parry and the ways that you can practice and begin to execute it more accurately, more efficiently. Because I will say that Wand Parry is very powerful. Not only that the damage it provides, it's very high on DPS. It's one of the highest attacks DPS wise, especially given how quick it is, but also the PP efficiency and the things that you can do given Wand Parry. And we'll get into one of those things and I'll briefly mention it, which is wave crash canceling. Wave crash cancel. I'll get into why that is important and how you can use Wand Parry to essentially make wave crash, which is also very powerful from a DPS standpoint, specifically the first hit of wave crash, how you can essentially make it free. But let's start at the basics and let's understand Wand Parry. So for those who don't realize or may not know, Wand Parry is the wand weapon action. It's about 20 frames from start to finish. What's important to note is that our sidestep is about 18 frames. And this is going to be important because this is one of the ways that you're going to want to think about and practice Wand Parry. But as you notice, I can do Wand Parry standing still or idle, but I can also do it while moving. Essentially what I do is I just hold a directional input while pressing the weapon action in any direction, similar to sidestep. The next thing we want to do is understand the enemy attack patterns. And so for this demonstration, we are going to use the Wallon. So let's assess Wallon's attack patterns. So I'm not going to do any attacking. I'm just going to call out what's going on. So let's get his attention. Chancellor to spin. Yep. Now pay attention to the charge up time before he spins and pay attention to the distance he covers. That's one of the things you're going to want to pay attention to when you start thinking about Wand Parrying. How much is the charge time? How fast does he cover distance with his attack? The flip kick. Once again, pay attention to the speed. Pay attention to the double strikes, if he does double strikes. But really, you just want to get a sense of how long does it take for him to execute a move? Is it 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds? What is the distance that it covers? But really, that's the first thing you want to do is really get good on the enemy attack patterns. When he does what comes next, how much time is in between, and when he's doing a certain move, how long does it take for him to execute? When is that move going to come in contact with you? And that's really the most important thing. Understanding when and where the move will hit you. Now remember, I called out sidestep and Wand Parry being very similar. So now, instead of sidestepping, we do the same practice now with Wand Parry. Except now I can move into attacks. I can move away from attacks. I can move to the side. What I'm doing is understanding when the attack is going to occur, know what is happening next, and then understanding where that attack is going to hit. And I'm Wand Parrying like I sidestep into the attack. Now let's look at mixing in damage. Understanding what are the timings, what are the openings. Get a feel for what you can do and when. Now, let's get back to what I mentioned previously, which was wave crash canceling. It's a 2-hit Photon art, but believe it or not, the first hit is, from a DPS standpoint, the strongest. Unfortunately, it costs 30 PP. So canceling it is very inefficient from a PP standpoint. What makes wave crash canceling special is that when you do cancel, if you can pair it with a Wand Parry, The PP that you regain from Wand Parry will cover the cost of the wave crash. And so there might be situations where instead of doing normal into Wand Parry, when there's an enemy opening, you do into Wand Parry. Now, you don't actually have to cancel it with the Wand Parry. This is where other things get a little tricky and get a little fun. So, once again, I can wave crash with Wand Parry, or I can cancel it with the sidestep. This is where things get interesting, because another technique you can do is sidestep into Wand Parry. What's great about this is essentially you can cover your options. So let's say I do a wave crash and I sidestep. If I mistime it, I get the sidestep step counter, or I get the Wand Parry. Now, of course, the timing is not that easy, but you understand the options that it provides. So you can imagine you've Wand Parried, you're hitting the enemy has a quick opening, so you want to do a wave crash for the most damage. Cancel it with the sidestep because you know an attack is coming, Wand Parry, or just parry after the wave crash. Depending on the enemy timings, and once again, we talked about really understanding those enemy attack patterns, this is where this technique can come through. Where now you're saying, what is the most effective, optimal way that I can do damage, while also using Wand Parry to cover the PP cost. So there might be situations to where I do want to do a full wave crash because I know the enemy attack pattern is not going to hit me. But if I know the enemy attack pattern, something's going to come quickly, sidestep, Wand Parry. Cover your options. At times you might get lucky and get the sidestep. Other times you'll get the Wand Parry. Either way, it's great damage, great PP regain, and now you can use wave crash more efficiently. So now let's start mixing in photon arts. Once you get a sense of, okay, when he does this move, he's got this much of an opening. When he does that move, he has that much. So what I did there was I did a sidestep to cover my bases because the timing was very strict. And if I didn't get the sidestep, I would have Wand Parried. So that's one thing that you can do, is sidestep into Wand Parry. And so ultimately what it comes down to is really understanding how you can manipulate Wand Parry. You know, starting with the sidestep and the similarities between sidestepping and Wand Parry. And then the next is understanding the enemy's attack patterns. How long does it take for them to attack? What happens next? What's the time in between? And then from there, understanding, okay, what can I fit in between those attacks? How long are those openings? What can I do during those openings? And then start mixing in your photon arts and taking advantage of things like wave crashing to do that additional damage, but then also setting yourself up for a step counter or a Wand Parry. And essentially putting those all together with practice. You know, I did this with Well On, but you know, you'd move on to Elder Scythe. You'd move on to Nogglith. And of course, if you want me to, I can definitely go boss by boss, even though some bosses, there's really no benefit in parrying per se, but there are a lot of bosses where parrying is important, and also bosses where what should you be doing other than parrying, such as Nogglith. So other than that, hope that was helpful. Of course, questions, leave them in the comment section, and I'll see you guys next time.